And it means a phenomenal new world of opportunities. The digital advertising space, those that are interested in numbers alone, is estimated to reach $3.5 billion by 2014. Digital media is all about creating the need for content aggregators to create a seamless, easy-to-use experience for customers online. Rogers On Demand Online is a great example of content aggregation that's already taking place today and gaining traction. In just 6 months, 250,000 of our cable customers have registered for what we will call RODA, Rogers On Demand Online service. So it's about creating the need for brands to remain relevant in a new medium. Think of our 680 News app that delivers news, weather, and traffic reports right on the go. Recently, we launched City TV iPad apps that allow you to watch your favorite shows on demand. It's truly anywhere, anytime, any way the consumer wants. The future is all about personalization and on demand, and digital media will deliver it for Canadians. Now, as I look out to the future, to me, it's not about individual products. It's about how these products work together to drive growth, productivity, efficiency for business. And it's about how these products work together to drive personalized, enriched experiences for all our consumers. By the way, all of these growth platforms that I described build on our core competencies. And I think of them as critical elements of a new and growing pie, one that will drive Canada's digital future. But to deliver this future, we require significant capital investments. We require vast amounts of bandwidth. And we require access to the right spectrum with the right frequencies. The demands of the data era are nothing like the voice era. And the demands of the next era will be even more dramatic. Make no mistake, Canadians are demanding more. And that brings me to my final point. We must work in partnership with the federal government to just have the system be ready. Ready the ecosystem. Got to meet this. The demands are insatiable. There is no Canadian who doesn't want to be connected. And we need to work together to drive Canada's digital future. Minister Clement had encouraging words, I believe, for Canadians at the Telecom Summit this summer. He said that government understands how critical the right regulatory framework is to deliver the future. He said the federal government understands the infrastructure challenges and the massive investments that will be required to make these new next generation networks work. And he said the government will auction both 700 megahertz and 2.5 gigahertz spectrum frequencies in the next 12 to 24 months. This is encouraging. We support making the industry stronger for Canada and for Canadians. We invest billions of dollars every year to make Canada strong. And our recent announcement of a technical trial of LTE demonstrates this commitment. LTE, for those that may not be familiar, is long-term evolution, is a next-generation wireless technology that will deliver substantially faster speeds and a superior experience. It will allow significantly more mobile to pass through at incredibly, think of it as vastly faster speeds over these networks. It will create, for us, a more efficient network because it will enable a superior mobile broadband experience. And it is the foundation, LTE is the foundation required to deliver a world defined by connected experiences. LTE can use a variety of spectrum bandwidths. And this is critically important given how the ecosystem is developing. Large national carriers south of the border, like Verizon and AT&T, are building LTE on 700 megahertz spectrum. There's no question in my mind that both devices and applications are going to be created using this frequency. When they roll out LTE using 700 megahertz in the United States, it will have a significant impact on us here at home. 700 megahertz spectrum delivers better in-building penetration, and it delivers better coverage in rural and remote areas. our customers need access to 700 megahertz spectrum. And Canada needs a fair and open auction for spectrum. You should understand, spectrum is the lifeblood of our business, and it is a key resource to meet the future needs of mobile broadband. In the last spectrum auction, the government restricted who could bid for this valuable resource. In fact, existing customers were disadvantaged and unable to bid on certain blocks of this spectrum. This can't happen again. It would be a shame if our 8 million wireless customers were denied the benefits that this spectrum brings. Artificial barriers that prevent Canadians from accessing much-needed spectrum will hamper innovation. It will hurt an industry that relies and always has relied on leading-edge networks paid for by made-in-Canada companies like Rogers. It would also prevent the government from achieving the maximum return for Canadian taxpayers for this valuable resource. Let me be clear. We are willing and we are ready to pay market rates for spectrum. We ask the federal government to be guided by its own market-based approach as it monetizes this valuable asset. The minister said that an upcoming auction and foreign ownership cannot be divorced because companies need to know the sources of capital they have before participating in the auction. Just as the minister believes that the auction and question of ownership should not be separated, we believe the principles of openness and equity should apply. If foreign ownership is to be allowed, it should be permitted for everyone. We need a strong communications industry in Canada. We need a regulatory environment that stimulates investments in the technologies required to have us stay competitive as Canadians. We need regulation that enables Canadian-owned and operated companies to succeed. We're one of them. We need rules that apply equally to all participants, and we need rules that don't penalize those that want to invest to drive Canada's digital future. And that would be Rogers. There is no question that the world around us has changed significantly. And there's no question that we'll see more change in the next 5 years than we've seen in the last 25. It's an exciting time to be in our business in the communications industry, but it's also a critical time for our sector. Canadians need industry and government to focus on driving Canada's digital future. They need our industry to invest to drive future growth, to enable the services that I've been describing. And they need companies with a proven track record to participate in a fair and open spectrum auction. At Rogers, we've always invested to deliver the latest and greatest in technology. Our customers expect us to drive innovation. Indeed, our customers deserve nothing less. Thank you. We've got time actually for a few questions. We'll try at least a couple and see how we do from a time perspective. Anybody with a question? It doesn't have, ideally on topic, but this is that's fine too.
I've got a question.
Sure. Go ahead.
Here.
Yeah.
BCE recently, the process of acquiring CTV. Shaw just closed their acquisition of CanWest. Obviously, as you talked about, the digital media is one of the reasons behind those acquisitions.
Sure.
You know, as a leader of a company who's had both distribution and content, what are some of the things that you would say to them in how to put those properties together and make that work?
Well, for sure, it won't be anything that would be helpful to them. But I'll tell you what, one of the questions I think the industry is facing is how does this world work together? And to Jeff's question, you know, we've had these assets in our Rogers umbrella for some time. And one of the things that is interesting, when we look at our media business as a standalone unit, we have a profitable, healthy media business. But almost every part of that business, whether it's radio, print, conventional TV, looks out the next few years, and the one thing that everybody's concerned about is online. And what happens to conventional media as it goes online. If you were looking at the pie that's shrinking, it would be the pie that says conventional media doesn't respond. If you looked at the growth aspect, it would be, my God, everything that if you're in conventional media you're worried about, we at Rogers have, which is distribution, both wireless and cable. So we're very excited about saying, how do we take these brands and actually optimize them for online services? Importantly, we know there's certain things that people will value online. I think brands are very important. So you really need to be sharp on which brands can add value and resonate. I think there's a role online for people to actually aggregate content. So a great example would be Rogers On Demand online. Because what it does, it says, if you're a Rogers cable customer, hey, come online and you can have access to all kinds of content. So it leverages, if you will, the breadth of platforms that we have and takes brands across them. And it really ties into me, my whole premise is consumers should pick how they get access to entertainment. And it shouldn't be separate for cable TV, separate for internet, separate for mobile. Consumers should pick. And I think how we make that work seamlessly is going to be the challenge, and the company that does that well will succeed. So I'll leave it at that, and maybe move on to a couple more questions.
Right here?
Yep.
So you've recently been ramping up your efforts with Rogers Ventures to work with a lot of entrepreneurs and startup companies. So how do you see digital media startups fitting into your plans for the next 5 years?
It's a great question. You know, it's a great, by the way, great follow-on to Jeff's question, because to a certain extent with Jeff, I was responding to conventional media moving. One of the things we've recognized is on the online space, and if you think social media, it's actually redefining how people consume media and what is media that people want to consume. And this whole notion of users, of consumers actually creating media and creating content in their own right is becoming more powerful. One of the things we've done under an umbrella that we call Rogers New Ventures is invested in a company called Vugu. And Michael Eisner, who comes from the conventional world, is an investor and founder for that organization. All with the idea that the content Vugu actually comes up with is designed for mobile and online. It doesn't come from conventional and then moves over and ports. It actually starts from the new world. So I think, you know, frankly, in the digital world, we're going to see a lot of innovation with lots of small players. And what the internet by definition does is actually breaks down the barrier to entry for content providers. Right? You don't have the same bottlenecks to get to the home. Frankly, it doesn't take a lot of investments to get online. And then the trick, though, is once you're online, how do you actually attract the masses that you want, and what companies can help you? And that's where we start linking what we do with Vugu to another investment we just made as a company called BV Media. It's a Quebec-based, Montreal-based company, Rendezvous Media, that's in the digital advertising space. Because you can see these are small investments, but we're really planting the seeds to the future where you've got new content being consumed differently, and people like ourselves actually making the connections happen, either by reinforcing and marketing brands or creating an aggregator type position so that people like the small companies can actually get access to consumers. So it very much ties in terms of our view of digital media. Any time for one more question? One more, sure. If not, I'll get away while the going's good and say thank you very much for being here.